I got a team that might be raiding the Lions for their own free agency.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, I'd like to personally welcome you to another episode, yes, of Locked On Lions, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Matt Dery. Been with you for 10 years doing this podcast. We are with you each and every day, bringing you great guests, opinions, and all things Detroit Lions. Big doings today on the program. Are the New York Jets and Aaron Glenn ready to just raid the Lions defense of all of their free agents? There are numerous reports out there about various players from the Lions possibly going to New York to play for the awful Jets. We'll get into that coming up momentarily. Colin Cowherd today on his show on FS1 had his top 10 herd hierarchy going into next football season. The Lions made it. What about the Bears? What about the Packers? We will give you that top 10 momentarily. Dan Skipper apparently is back with the Lions. No surprise. And if you missed it yesterday, Ross Tucker was great with us from CBS Westwood One, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. And I asked him about Drew Petzing and the addition of the newest offensive coordinator to the Lions. And I want to play you that audio coming up a little bit later on the program. Shout out to our everydayers. Please join our everydayer club at lockedonlions.supercast.com. Had a great lunch today with a couple of our everyday listeners, including Sam Barber and the great Megan Brown. Megan loves her Lions from Purple Squirrel Advisors. They are great people. Hung with them today in Troy. All right. There are so many reports out there from New York, only in New York, that the Jets are ready to raid the Lions in free agency. Remember, the Jets are coached for now by Aaron Glenn, former Lions defensive coordinator. The Jets need to make a splash in free agency. The Jets are an abysmal operation. So much so that, players are staying in the draft so they can avoid being taken number 2 by the New York Jets, who of course went 3-14 last year. They've got some decent talent, yes, but they need defense. Yesterday, when we had Ross Tucker on the show, we were talking about the Gaines Media poster boy himself, Alex Anzalone, and how that just might be a fit for New York to go to the Jets. So we've seen that smoke in different reports over the last few weeks. And I'll give you the report here. Today on SNY, Sportsnet New York, Connor Hughes wrote a piece and mentioned Anzalone. So did the Athletic's Zach Rosenblatt. But both guys also mentioned another Lions free agent as a possibility and a fit with the Jets, and that is Amik Robertson. Hughes at SNY.com writes, quote, Amik Robertson from the Lions may not be the marquee name Jets fans are hoping for, but he fits the profile of an Aaron Glenn player, similar to Brandon Stevens, whom Glenn identified and helped turn into a productive contributor last year. Robertson enjoyed a career year in 2024, earning a 63.3 defensive grade from PFF. Jets view Stevens as a potential starter next season and are high on Jarvis Brownlee in the nickel role, but Robertson would provide another competitive, scheme-versatile cornerback as the team searches for higher-end playmakers in the draft, end quote. So there you got SNY talking about Amik Robertson. Robertson would be a great fit with the Jets. Robertson would be a guy that likely the Jets would overpay to bring in. Remember, last offseason, I'm not saying the Lions stole DJ Reed from the Jets, but the Lions, of course, made a very competitive offer and brought DJ Reed over in a free agency move from the Jets to Detroit to really be their number 1 corner. And now, ironically enough, the Jets are looking for a number 1 corner. Amik Robertson, of course, played for Aaron Glenn 2 years ago. Had a really, really, really good end of the 2024 season under Aaron Glenn, especially week 18, that game against the Vikings at Ford Field, where Detroit destroyed Minnesota and Robertson just put on a show against Justin Jefferson. I've contended for a while now on this program that I would love to have Amik back, and I think he would be a guy that you would want to retain. Last 2 years, he has played his ass off. Amik Robertson competes. He's everything the Lions are about. Toughness, grit, brash. I love this guy. And I think, keeping him should be a priority. We've talked about this. Now, again, Amik is 27 years old. He's played 6 years in the league. He made $4.5 million a year the last 2 years. So, Spot Rack, SPOTRAC, when they are looking at money and potential contracts, Spot Rack has Robertson getting a 3-year deal and getting about $12 million. So a longer term deal, but maybe less money. 3 years at 12, especially with a ton of different cornerbacks and a lot of cornerbacks that are out there. I think Amik Robertson's going to get more than that. I think he's going to get more than that. He's made $4.5 million the last 2 years. I don't see him taking anything less. I think a 3-year, $18 million deal is probably something that Amik is looking for. There are plenty of people that do not think he is a number one corner or even an outside corner, that he should just be a nickel guy or just be a slot guy. I think he showed over 2 years here in Detroit that he can play anywhere you put him. Now, also, it has been reported. So not only is Alex Anzalone, the linebacker, possibly on the Jets target list, Amik Robertson, we told you, also could be on that list. Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic wrote, quote, they need to bring in somebody who has played for Aaron Glenn before to establish what he's looking for. I'm not going to say the obvious one, Alex Anzalone. He's the obvious one. I think he would be a Jet, but the Lions have a cornerback named Amik Robertson, more of a nickel. Him and Aaron Glenn were really close. I talked to him when I did that Aaron Glenn story last year, end quote. So that is from Zach Rosenblatt. Also, The Athletic also believes that the Jets would have interest in Al-Quadin Muhammad, who, of course, we also know is really probably the number one Lions free agent that is hitting the market unrestricted. Reason for that, AQM last year had 11 sacks. He's probably looking to get paid. Has said publicly he'd like to come back to Detroit, but it's got to be for the right deal. And Al-Quadin's, the juice for him and the marketplace for him has never been higher than it is right now. Double-digit sacks. Yes, he's 31 years of age, but somebody is going to throw some money at him. He's a guy that Brad Holmes discovered and found basically off the waiver wire and on the street, and got him off the street and into Detroit, put him on the practice squad. And last year, while he only played 40% of the snaps, it was mostly against in passing situations as an edge rusher. Al-Quadin Muhammad is also somebody that reportedly the Jets have their eye on. So we're talking Alex Anzalone, Amik Robertson, Al-Quadin Muhammad, all players that Jets writers and reporters believe could be on the New York radar. And you get that. You get that every time. How did Alex Anzalone come to Detroit? Because he knew Aaron Glenn from New Orleans and Dan Campbell from New Orleans. All right. Buddy ball is how a lot of things get done in all professional sports leagues. Coaching hires, everything else. All right. So familiarity. So keep an eye on the Jets as a team that has a lot of money to spend. And because they were 3-14, because the head coaching situation, look, let's be honest, was not good. Aaron Glenn fired half his staff and did so late in the game. In order for the Jets to get these players, they're likely going to have to overpay them. And I'm not sure the Lions are going to match what maybe New York could throw at Alex, Al-Quadin, or even Amik Robertson. So we'll see. I would love for the Lions to keep Muhammad and Robertson. I don't think Anzalone's coming back. We'll have to see. You can't keep everybody. And for the Lions, you've already paid Derek Barnes. You must pay Jack Campbell soon. Second best linebacker in the league this year. So I think that probably keeps Anzalone out of a re-sign unless it's late in the game and he hasn't found a home yet. All right, coming up next, herd hierarchy. Colin Cowherd does have the Lions in his top 10 for next season. He's leaving an interesting team out of the mix. We'll tell you about that next. And Locked On Lions today on this Wednesday is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of Locked On Lions get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now. Support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right, look, I've been telling you guys about it. We are here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. And if you want to get more Lions content, you want to be more engaged with this show, go to LockedOnLions.supercast.com or LockedOnPodcast.com/everydayer and join our Everydayer Club. Hop on the Everydayer Club Discord server with us. It's a chat room. We're talking Lions all the time. Get an ad-free show on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, just by being an Everydayer Club member. Thanks to our Everydayer Club members. Join us today. Okay, herd hierarchy. Yes, Colin Cowherd on his show today, and this was sent to me by the man I like to refer to as the executive producer of this program. We go way back. It's my guy, Nathan Litke. Shout out to the Litke family. I love them all. But Nate sent me the herd hierarchy today of where he has NFL teams here on this Wednesday following the Super Bowl for next season. So 10 down to 1. Let's play along here. Colin Cowherd, FS1 and Fox or Sports Radio, has Kansas City at number 10. I don't see it. I think the Chiefs are regressing. Buffalo at 9. New England at 8. Coming in at number 7, your Honolulu Blue and Silver Savages, the Detroit Lions. 6, Jacksonville. 5, the Chargers. 4, the Bears. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears. Denver at 3, Rams at 2, Seattle at 1. As far as this list, Chicago at 4 is too high. They're not the third best. Now, I know this past year they pretty much were the third best team in the NFC, but I don't see the Bears doing what they did a year ago. I think the Bears are a good team. I think the Bears are likely in the top 10. I'm not putting them fourth best. No way. I think the Lions are going to be better than the Bears this year. I think a team that's not even on this list. What happened to the kicker list? No, I'm just kidding. It's just a tease. Kicker list is going. Well, it's back here, but I'm not reaching for it. I haven't reached for it in 2 years. Green Bay should be ahead of the Bears. And I get it. They played 3 times. The Bears beat them twice. The Bears beat them in the playoffs. I think Green Bay's better than Chicago. I think the Lions are better than Chicago. Bears have a good team. Their quarterback is on the rise. Ben Johnson's amazing. He is. Benedict's damn good. Bears won a lot of close games. Bears had a lot of easy games this year. Next year, playing a first-place schedule, target on their back. I wouldn't put them at 4. I wouldn't put the Chargers at 5 either. And I get it. You're getting both tackles back from injury, Alt and Slater. Another year of Justin Herbert. I think he'll do well with Mike McDaniel, but I'm not putting him at the number 5. I think the Lions, would you put them behind Jacksonville at 6? Jacksonville had a really good year this year. And Liam Cohen did a good job, but I think the Lions are better than the Jags. I can't disagree with Seattle at 1. They're the defending champs. They're bringing most guys back. Reek Woolen is their big free agent, and Boye Mafe, who we talked about as a Lions target the other day. But Seattle's good and young. Rams at 2, I agree with. Denver at 3, I agree with. I think Denver next year is going to be scary good. Another year of Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton, while I don't like him personally, I think has done well. I think the Lions could be a top 5 team. Putting them at 7, I get. I think they could be a top 5 team next year. I want to see. We got a long way to go. We got free agency. We got the draft. All right. We're like a month from free agency, less than a month from free agency, March 9th. Can't wait. Interesting. Green Bay was not even on his top 10 list. I think that is a mistake. I do. Okay. Big, not big news today, but exciting news today. Dan Skipper, who of course announced his retirement a couple of weeks ago and was down at the East-West Shrine game or bowl or whatever they call it, recently working as an assistant coach, apparently, reportedly, is coming back to the Lions to be on the coaching staff. CBS Detroit's Rachel Hotmeyer reports that Dan Skipper is going to join the staff. Remember, it was last month that he retired from football. Just too many injuries. He's been around a while, obviously now in his 30s. But Dan Skipper is reportedly coming back, which is cool. The big Skip is like a folk hero. It's like when Don Muehlbach retired. You knew the mule was coming back to be on the staff. All right. And he's up in the booth in Dan Campbell's ear during the games and helping out with things. The role has not been announced yet. Rachel didn't say, but remember, Steve Oliver, who was the Lions' assistant offensive line coach the last couple of years, just signed up to be the tight ends coach, replacing Tyler Roll. So, assistant O-line coach job is open. Here's Dan Skipper. And apparently he's going to at least be a part of the staff and could be the assistant O-line coach. So you move Steve Oliver from assistant O-line coach to tight ends coach. You've hired Drew Petzing. You brought in Mike Kafka, of course. And Dan Skipper is here. By the way, Seth Ryan, who was the Lions' assistant tight ends coach and the son of Rex Ryan, is now going from the Lions to the Jets as their passing game coordinator. This happened the other day. I saw Rex Ryan talking about it. 3 generations of Ryan's sons, and 2 of them have been with the Jets. Rex, of course, and now Seth. Buddy Ryan, of course, longtime head coach of the Eagles and the defensive coordinator of the Bears during the 85 Bears. Here's about run. The bottom line is Dan Skipper is beloved in that locker room. He's a guy that anytime they asked him to do anything, start the year on practice squad. We need to cut you for final cuts to get the roster in order. 53-man roster at the end of training camp and the preseason last year. Dan Skipper bit every bullet. He really did. He had been let go in the past before, had come back. And like I said, just a guy that is a Lion. All right. And I know he's most famous for the whole Dan Skipper reporting thing in the game in Dallas a couple of years ago, but anytime that the Lions put him out there and he had to spot start or immediately had to come in and play left tackle for an injury to Decker, right tackle for Sewell, put him at guard, he just was solid. So for him to retire and immediately come back and be a part of the coaching staff, because quite frankly, still young enough to play in his 30s, but just the back injuries and everything else that he went through, as he mentioned at the end of the year, it was time for him to hang him up. For him to be a part of the staff and to mentor some of the young offensive linemen on this team, whether it's Tate Ratledge, whether it's Christian Mahogany, Gio Manu, any of these guys, Miles Frazier, I love it. I love that Dan Skipper is still going to be a part of the Lions and going to be on the coaching staff, according to Rachel Hotmeyer. All right, good news. Yesterday we had Ross Tucker on the show, and I asked him about Drew Petzing's hire as offensive coordinator with the Lions. And we want to play that audio next because Ross really, really liked it. And we will play that coming up next. If you missed any of Ross Tucker's interview yesterday with us, go back and check it out. He was tremendous as always. And we'll hear what he had to say about Drew Petzing, who, by the way, continues to get a lot of love and shine unlike when they first hired him, nobody was doing backflips. I'm not saying I'm doing backflips now, but I think a lot of people are starting to come aboard the Petzing train. That is for sure. All right, folks, the Olympics are up and running. We know this, the Winter Games. And the Winter Games being officially here means if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. All right, that's why I follow the Winter Games on FanDuel. Just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. Of course, the hockey games are always intriguing that feel different right from the opening faceoff. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked in to the competition. As Stanford Steve would say, lock in. FanDuel, giving the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on. There's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, welcome back in. It is a Wednesday edition of a Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Don't forget, we got plenty of other Lions content on this very network. Lions Squad Show. Check them out right here where you find your podcasts. My guy Jake Riepma, Bradford Banta, Natty K, Natalie Kerwin. They do a fun show, and it's more Lions content. That is what you want. Check them out. The Locked On Lions Squad Show. All right. Love this from yesterday. Ross Tucker was on with me, and we discussed, I asked him about Drew Petzing, Ross Tucker of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, CBS, Westwood One. Here were his thoughts on Drew Petzing when I asked him about it yesterday. I don't know if you did any Cardinals games this year. Drew Petzing, the Arizona OC, is now the Lions OC. What'd you think of that move by Dan Campbell to bring Petzing in to kind of stabilize the run game again?
Big fan. Big fan of Drew Petzing and what he did. You know, I think Kyler Murray is a unique quarterback to work with because he's very inconsistent. That will not be the case with Jared Goff. I'm not sure Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that the Cardinals were hoping he was when they drafted him. He got a lot of production out of Trey McBride. He got a lot of production out of Michael Wilson and Jacoby Brissett. And just talking with him, there's a reason why last year his name was mentioned for some head coaching interviews. What he did with the run game in Arizona and the number of explosive runs they had with James Conner, who's not exactly Jahmyr Gibbs in terms of speed or being fleet of foot, it's super, super impressive. And I think it's going to be a really, really good match between Petzing and Goff and Dan Campbell.
All right, you love that. You got Ross Tucker's endorsement for Drew Petzing. And a couple of things that he brought up there that I really, really liked. Michael Wilson was a 1,100, 1,200 yard receiving wide receiver this year. Many of you have no idea who that is. All right. Michael Wilson is a good receiver, but he had a monster year this year again. And Marvin Harrison Jr., in fact, did not. As far as Trey McBride, think about the monster couple of years that he had at tight end. And Ross mentioned that. But I love Ross's comment about James Conner. James Conner is a guy the Pittsburgh Steelers let go. Kind of, bandied about the league, finally found a home in Arizona, had very, very good year 2 years ago before he getting hurt this year. And yes, James Conner is not Jahmyr Gibbs. Heck, James Conner isn't even David Montgomery. And yet Drew Petzing found a way to really get a lot out of Conner in that run game. And now all seems to be well on the David Montgomery front. There doesn't seem to be any talk of him moving on. Montgomery did a bunch of interviews. We talked about this last week at the Super Bowl. Seemingly, it sounds like he's going to be happy and has already talked to Drew Petzing. By the way, Drew Petzing is going to be on the Pride of Detroit podcast tomorrow, I believe, at 12:30 or so. So always love plugging the other podcasts and the other networks and certainly our friends at prideofdetroit.com are landing Drew Petzing tomorrow. So that should be pretty cool. But Ross brought it up. You're being given, think about what Petzing was working with just this season. Jacoby Brissett, he'll get an upgrade with Jared Goff. An offensive line that both tackles were out for most of the year. All right. Lions, we think and hope, will have an upgraded offensive line this coming season. Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. He worked with basically James Conner this year. And Michael Carter. All right. Backups at running back. He'll have Gibbs. He'll have Montgomery. All right. Marvin Harrison III. I said junior before. Junior was my age at Syracuse. Marvin Harrison III, underachieved. McBride's really good. Michael Wilson. Here you're talking Jamison Williams. You're talking Sam Laporta. We're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's going to be a lot for Petzing to work with here, and I'm getting more excited about this hire than maybe I did when the hire was made. I really am. So love hearing Ross's comments on it. And again, the Lions have got to get back to running the football the way that they did 2 years ago. Yeah, there were flashes this season, including the Giants overtime win, the game in Baltimore where both Gibbs and Montgomery went off, the game in Cincinnati. There were flashes this year. The Lions offense is still very good. But I think Petzing's going to bring a consistent approach to the ground game and some guards pulling, some more zone stuff. And that fits right what Dan Campbell wants to do. And guess what? Dan Campbell doesn't have to call the plays. We didn't talk about it enough midseason last year when he made the change. It just, this last season just didn't have a great feel to it. Just didn't. So, all right, that'll do it for us on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen each and every day, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on Instagram, Locked On Lions, TikTok as well, Facebook. We're there. And hit that follow button. We'll talk to you tomorrow.